Okay, so moving away from the family unit now and onto the education unit, we're going to start looking at Durkheim, Emil Durkheim. Hopefully that name does ring a bell to most of you. One of the original sociologists and certainly the original functionalist sociologist. So hopefully that does ring a bell. A lot of students have had a few issues with getting confused between Durkheim and Parsons and what each one of them said about the education system. So it's important that we know the difference, okay? But it is understandable because they do say somewhat similar things. But Durkheim, in essence, basically honed in on only one major function of the education system, and that was, as it says here, the transmission of society's norms and values. Okay, so whenever you're talking about school as acting as an agent of socialization, sort of giving you those norms and values, then Durkheim is the one you're talking about. Okay, so do try and remember that. He did actually hone in on one particular subject as well. He talked about history as providing us as individuals a link with society as a whole. Okay, so children, the idea was that children would come to see that they are part of something bigger than themselves. Okay, and they'd sort of breed that sort of idea of social cohesion and value consensus. Okay, through the idea of knowing that you're bigger or something, so it's part of something bigger. Sorry. So that's basically it, really. I mean, there's not much else to it. Okay, so it transmits norms and values, makes people feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, and therefore people get along. Okay, that is the main essence of it. Don't forget, Durkheim came up with the idea of the organic analogy. Okay, so all of the agencies in society are working together to keep it the whole thing going. Okay, like a human body. The education system is no different to that. Okay, so by providing kids with these norms and values and getting people to go along with society, then it is helping the whole thing to work well. Okay, and equally, this quote, you will hopefully have all recognise this, the whole idea of school being a society in miniature. Okay, so that's a good quote to know. So obviously, there's lots of things within the school that make it like a society in miniature. The fact that you get detentions when you do something wrong, the fact that you get rewarded when you do something good, very much like society on the outside of the school, but different in some small aspects. Okay, so on your sheet, hopefully you've got that in front of you. You will have already filled this in, but I'm just going to show you what I filled it in with just to clarify. So schools teach norms and values through things like history, as we've already talked about, assemblies, though I know you all hate them. It's installing sort of those religious values and norms. Hidden curriculum, okay, so try and remember that key term, the hidden curriculum. It's teaching you how to be polite and how to be punctual, and it's giving you that idea of how to be a well-rounded human being. So that's all through those unspoken rules, okay, through school. Equally, the science society in miniature. Okay, there's a few examples there just to give you an idea. So timetabling, for example, to teach you punctuality. Okay, so there's a few things there, so you can have a quick look at those. But most importantly, how do we evaluate it? Okay, it does make somewhat sense. Okay, it does make a little bit of sense. Okay, but equally, Marxists would probably take issue with it. Okay, they would see it in much more of a negative light. Okay, preparing children for mindless work to keep a capitalism afloat. Okay, you could talk about Bowles and Gintis at that point in your evaluation if you wanted. Equally, feminists, okay, they would say that it's yes, they are transmitting norms and values, but they are norms and values that keep patriarchy going. Okay, it's not a good thing. Telling kids what subjects are for girls and what subjects for boys. Okay, that's not a positive norms and values that are going into those kids' minds. Okay, equally, we have to acknowledge the elephant in the room once again. He is from a long time ago. Okay, the education system has changed massively. Equally, the concept of childhood has changed dramatically since then. Okay, they are increasingly dependent on parents. Okay, there's not as much independence anymore with children. Okay, and equally, our shared history is so varied now because of all the ethnicities and all the cultures that are part of Britain. Okay, we have to acknowledge it, and Durkheim does not acknowledge it. Okay, so definitely something to worth acknowledging. Okay, but that's it for Durkheim. Hopefully that has helped you in understanding what he says.